So let's get started with a quick rundown of what we're going to cover today, starting with the webinar logistics and housekeeping, talking about session goals, what we're hearing from our partners, and then why employee engagement matters to you and how we can help, looking at digital and print resources to help you with communications, partnering with you on an online platform to support your year-round philanthropic needs, resources that your employees themselves can access, other opportunities for your employees to learn, grow, and engage with the community. And then ending, of course, with a Q&A opportunity. As always, feel free to jump in, take yourself off mute. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to answer your questions because chances are, if you have questions, someone else has the same question. So feel free to share those questions throughout this session. So as always, these sessions are all hosted on different Microsoft Teams links, which were included in the calendar invites. If you are intending to stay after the session for our group discussion or open discussion at 10:30, that is a different Microsoft Teams link, but we will put that link in the chat just in case you didn't get an opportunity to register for that. You're welcome to turn on your video if you feel comfortable, but there's no pressure. We ask you that you keep your audio muted unless you are actively speaking. We can mute you if you forget, but we cannot unmute you if you want to be heard. So we just do that so that we avoid any feedback loops or any distracting noises, things like that. So, please feel free to use the chat box to ask questions, comment, share experiences. We will be monitoring the chat box throughout so nothing gets missed, and we will also be using the chat box to provide links for some of the content. Each of the sessions will include live polls to help prompt discussion around current experiences, and we'll provide direction when that poll opportunity comes up. And then again, there will be time at the end for some group discussion and questions, but if you do have any questions throughout the session, don't be afraid to ask them. We really want this to be an informal, friendly learning opportunity for everyone. So, all right. So by the end of the session today, we really want you to have a clear understanding of the benefits of engagement beyond the campaign, and also how we can support you, how we can partner with you to achieve those philanthropic goals, those engagement goals, how we can support you, your employees, and your organization. So to kick things off, let's get to know each other a little better. We'll do a little icebreaker, as with every session. Don't panic, I won't put you on the spot. I'd like you to find and open the chat box. And in that chat box, type in your name, the organization you're representing today, and a movie or TV show you enjoyed recently. So I am looking for, shamelessly looking for recommendations right now, but I'm genuinely curious because we've had so much time to spend on Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and HBO Max and all of those other streaming services. And I'm very curious to know. Lisa, oh, Corella, I haven't seen that one yet. I'm very excited to see that one. Nice. Forged in Fire. I'm gonna have to look that one up. Yeah, this is great. I've been watching a show called The Warrior on HBO Max, which is originally written by Bruce Lee back in the 70s, then never aired because they didn't think a show with an Asian lead would go over well back in the 70s. And now it is actually airing on HBO Max, and it is phenomenal. Gilmore Girls. Amy, you just look like girl to my own heart. Gilmore Girls. Alan, yeah, watching Breaking Bad. Actually, so yeah, we were kind of watching that too. We got a rotation of shows that we work through depending on the mood we're in. So very cool. Watching all the Marvel movies, that's an undertaking. Very cool. All right, well, thank you for the recommendations. I appreciate it. Go ahead and continue with that interactive activity. And I'd ask you to open up a tab and go to polev.com/GTCUW campaigns. And I'll ask you to type into the chat what brought you to the session today, or type into that poll what brought you to the session today. I'm very curious to know, where you're coming from. What is bringing you here today? What interested you most about the content of the session? I'll give you a minute here to put that in there. Drop that link in here as well. I'm just going to get a baseline for what interested you most about this year-round engagement, this complete partnership opportunity. All right. Knitting in a way one way all I can. I like that. Welcome. Learning something new. All right. Feel free to keep entering those in. We will go to the next question here. So that should pop up right on your screen. If you are in that tab, in what ways do you already engage with us outside of campaign? So this can be anything from attending or sponsoring a community volunteer event like Action Day or Home for Good. Maybe you or your organization contributed to one of the emergency support funds we created last year, like the COVID-19 Response and Recovery Fund or the Twin Cities Rebuild for the Future Fund. Maybe you've planned volunteer activities at different times throughout the year or attended events sponsored by one of our giving communities. I'd love to hear some of the ways that we already connect outside of the campaign. Volunteering at Veep. I know it's really easy to build those relationships with the nonprofit partners that you volunteer with, sometimes starting during the campaign, and continue those relationships beyond that and continue to volunteer throughout the year. I know that those needs continue. It's fun to keep volunteering. See where to donate items and do volunteer activities. Yeah. Yeah. So mostly volunteerism, it looks like. All right. So our last question here. What are some other ways that you engage your employees that are not connected to United Way? So we're looking to hear about other ways that you engage your employees, either with other nonprofits. Maybe you held a 5K walk run during Pride Month to raise funds for an organization that supports LGBTQ youth, or you conducted a blood drive or shared information about different issues like Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October or Mental Health Month in May, things like that. What are some of the other ways that you connect your employees to the community and to the ongoing needs in our community throughout the year? Again, this time for the August session, I really need to figure out how to have background music because I can't just keep, I need to sing. sing at you or something. I don't think anyone wants that. The MS 150 sponsor, like that. You know that I do a lot of stuff with the Bloomington Symphony. So I play with the Bloomington Symphony, and we do fundraisers and events to raise money for that nonprofit, because that's how we function, is through ticket sales and then mostly nonprofit fundraising. So yeah. If you think of anything else, once we go past the polls, feel free to throw it in the chat. We just want to get those ideas flowing. Have you think about the different ways that you're already engaging your employees, because that kind of lays that baseline for what we're going to talk about today. So moving on here, if you were in any of our sessions, you might recognize some of this. This is from our Unite to Fuel Change session. So from what we're hearing from our partners, around our corporate partners around workplace culture, is that the workplace culture has noticeably shifted. It's shifted significantly over the past year. The virtual world has impacted culture and morale. Companies are emphasizing the need to physically be together. Company culture is complex and fluid. Companies are testing and learning and reevaluating. Some of them are updating their employee handbooks. That human connection over this last year has been reduced or missing, which has created an opportunity and a demand for team building and morale boosting activities and opportunities. There's a need to connect in fun, but also meaningful ways. And employees and organizations are listening and engaging in conversations around institutional racism and the need for systemic change. That is a theme that we've been hearing from our partners, is that those conversations are happening, that employees are wanting to have those conversations and they want to do more. So the opportunity is there, the need is there for clearer language and examples, leveraging, the messaging that maybe we have available to be able to talk about some of those things with your employees in organizations. We're also hearing from our volunteerism team and from our corporate partners that there's more of an emphasis on creating meaningful impact in the community. That emphasis is more on that meaningful impact than it is on a fun volunteer experience. So not to say that volunteering isn't fun, that we shouldn't make it fun, but it's more important now to have it be meaningful and impactful in the community. Employers are more thoughtful and intentional about planning their volunteer events and activities because they want to be intentional about that impact. They don't just want to create a volunteer activity for the sake of busy work for their employees, to keep them busy, to do a volunteer event, to fill time. They want to really make sure, they want to be intentional about what that volunteer event is, to make sure that it is actually being impactful in the community. And there's a strong desire, both from employees and from companies, to back up their CSR statements and goals with actions and opportunities. So, you can make the statements, you can put out the goals, but there's a really strong desire to actually follow through and do the things that you say you're doing, and to provide the opportunities to your employees. And all of those themes that we're hearing lean towards employees wanting more engagement, more opportunities to have meaningful impact in our community. And so that tracks with what we're hearing on a national scale and with the data that's collected on a national scale, and why employee engagement is so important. While 2020 led businesses to step up more than ever, this shift was a long time coming. According to the 2020 Deloitte Global Millennial Survey, employees have been re-examining the companies that they work for with an eye towards purpose and impact in society. And employees, potential hires, and especially younger workers increasingly want to work at companies that pursue equity, diversity, and community. A study that was conducted by PwC said that employees who feel engaged by and are more committed to their organizations put in 57% more effort on the job and are 87% less likely to resign than employees who consider themselves disengaged, which is a huge statistic. And according to Gallup, organizations that are the best in engaging their employees achieve earnings per share growth that is more than 4 times that of their competitors. Compared with business units in the bottom quartile, those in the top quartile of engagement realize substantially better customer engagement, higher productivity, better retention, fewer accidents, and 21% higher profitability. And engaged workers also report better health outcomes. So that was a large quote. I'm going to break that down again. Organizations that do a good job engaging their employees, okay, show substantially better customer engagement, higher productivity, better retention, fewer on-site accidents, and 21% higher productivity. And as a bonus, those employees who feel engaged also report better health outcomes. So that's an added bonus to all of that. They feel healthier when they feel engaged with their employers. So that was from a nationwide poll that Gallup did. And then regarding volunteerism, the Macquarie Graduate School of Management found that 93% of employees who volunteer through their company report being happy with their employer. 93% report being happy with their employer, and 54% of those who are proud of their company's contributions to society are engaged at work. So again, big statistics, 93% report being happy with their employer, and then 54% who are proud of their company's contributions are engaged at work. So it's well known that employees want to work for companies that care. In fact, research conducted by America's Charities found that 71% of employees surveyed said that it was imperative or very important to work where culture is supportive of giving and volunteering. So 71% of employees want to work in a place where culture is supportive of giving and volunteering. So the fact that you guys are all here today shows that you guys have a culture that is supportive of giving and volunteering already. But the fact that over 70% of employees want that is, again, kind of a big statistic that I didn't even realize was that big. And involving employees in a mix of volunteer work, workplace giving programs, matching gift opportunities gives employees a sense of purpose, makes them feel more connected to the community and your company-wide social responsibility efforts. In fact, matching gifts is one of the top 5 motivations for workplace donors when it comes to employee engagement programs. Additionally, volunteer programs, particularly those with skills-based opportunities, provide a meaningful way for employees to put their abilities to use and give them a chance to grow and develop professional skills. Integrating online giving and volunteer management tools in a tool like Salesforce Philanthropy Cloud makes it really easy for companies and their employees to connect their skills with nonprofit needs and volunteer opportunities. And we'll talk a little bit more about Philanthropy Cloud a little bit later. All of this effectively reinforces beliefs and behaviors most valued by your company. It empowers employees to grow and do things for which they're most passionate. It infuses pride and loyalty in employees and contributes to a stronger and more skilled workforce. And I know that you do a ton of work to cultivate and educate your employees about the critical needs in the community and how they can make an impact. And that work doesn't just stop because the campaign window is closed. And they participate and donate because they care and they want to make a difference. And building on and carrying that momentum forward through education and engagement opportunities throughout the year means that you don't have to start from scratch again in the fall when you're communicating about the campaign. So that is, the business case for employee engagement with a lot of statistics. And again, I'll make those sources available to you after the session here. But that's kind of that's the why. Let's talk about the how. So one of the easiest ways to continue educating and engaging your employees beyond the campaign is to leverage a lot of the same information and resources that we provide for your campaign itself. So for example, we can provide the Unite to Fuel change messaging. If you were in our second session last week, that Unite to Fuel change messaging inherently utilizes this framework that we've been talking about all week, the need, opportunity, action messaging that allows you to talk about complex issues without losing that that positive outcome, that positive framework, and that tone. And that messaging can obviously be used during campaign, but it's not restricted to campaign communications only. In fact, it can be very effective to use the same phrases multiple times throughout the year to help those phrases and that messaging actually stick in people's brains. United Way's print and digital assets, brochures, photos, posters, videos, 2-in-1 audio clips, email templates, things like that. A lot of those things are specifically worded for campaign purposes, but as Eric showed us on Tuesday in our communications session, those communications are not necessarily campaign specific and can be tailored to meet your needs, can be tailored to remove that soliciting call to action, that donation call to action, and have it just be an education focused call to action. Learn more about this, find out more about how you can get involved, learn about volunteering, things like that. Stories and statistics about critical needs, impacts, and successes. Stories like the one Liz shared in our community impact session on Tuesday about career academies. Impact data tailored to your organization's philanthropic footprint. And then, of course, online platforms to support all of your philanthropic and volunteer needs. So just to highlight what that looks like, that Unite to Fuel change messaging, if you missed our session on Wednesday of last week, the Unite to Fuel change messaging offers a language and a framework in which you can hold those difficult conversations. And it just breaks down that, in that framework, that need first, that opportunity, and that action. So here's what the critical needs are. Here is the opportunity. Here's what needs to be done. And then here's what we're doing about it. Here's how you can help. And in this case, that need is that longstanding systemic racism and oppression have resulted in deep and predictable disparities in our community. That opportunity is our 2-in-1 helpline refers neighbors to critical basic needs. We invest in 100+ nonprofit partners who know what needs to be done and are already doing the work. And we're grounding our work in equity to address the systemic racism and oppression that are contributing to these disparities in our community. So that's what we're doing about it. That's what needs to be done. And then the action, the call to action, whether it's through your time, talents, or treasure, you can help solve these challenges and create a community where all people thrive. And this is a good opportunity too to call out something we heard from Jeff in our communication strategies and resources session on Tuesday. He talked about the donor life cycle, which starts with thanking people for their gifts and engagement, then cultivating or educating, and then finally actually soliciting the gift. During the campaign, we do put that larger emphasis on the solicit portion of that cycle, but the rest of the year is really all about thanking people and then cultivating their relationship with the community, cultivating their knowledge, and eventually cultivating next year's gift. So we really want to, work on that thank you and that cultivation portion throughout the year, which is how, Unite to Fuel change messaging can really be used, along with a lot of our other resources. Kind of going back to why that matters slide. The more you cultivate year round, the easier it is to ask for money during the campaign. Things like our brochure and other materials you often use throughout your campaign also contain language and information that can be used year round. These ones here, they have the action in the middle: join the Changemaker movement to make your impact, donate, volunteer, join a giving community, or advocate. But again, it's not necessarily campaign specific, and especially this part here in the middle of the brochure, it really just talks about our work. It talks about what we're doing in the community to really create change and create lasting change. I talked about these, sharing stories and highlights. And the story that Liz shared in our CI, our community impact session on Tuesday, was really just impactful to me. I hadn't heard that story before she told it, talking about this girl named Rosie, who graduated from high school this spring. And she's the first person in her family to go to college. She went through our Career Academies program, and she, as a high schooler, had a very strong curiosity about both healthcare and education. And because she was in a Career Academies program, she was able to try both while she was in high school. And she ended up really loving the hands-on component of her healthcare careers coursework, especially like blood testing and lab work. And so she decided that that was a career path that would really work for her. And so through those opportunities available to her in career academies, she was able to earn college credits for free while she was still in high school. And she was even able to get her certified nursing assistant certification while she was in school, which she used to get a great paying job in her community. She plans to study nursing in college and eventually get her nurse practitioner, become a nurse practitioner. So what started as a curiosity about careers in healthcare, is ending with her leaving high school equipped with a clear trajectory and understanding of her strengths and interests, a dedicated support system, and college credits that she can apply towards that college career, that college pathway that she's looking at. So that impactful story about career academies, again, doesn't have anything to do with asking for money. It just is talking about that spotlight. It's talking about the highlights of different things that are really making a difference in our community.
It's very cold up here.
Is that your white BMW downstairs?
It's silver. Yes.
All right. So this is an example that Eric shared with us on Tuesday in our communication session of a way that we can customize information for you and your organization's impact. Again, not just something to share during the campaign. A lot of times we find that folks wind up with campaign or email fatigue, especially after a very robust campaign. A good thing to do maybe is to share this a couple months later. Share it in January. Talk about successes and highlights. Talk about the impact that you're all having in the community, specific to your organization's giving. What you can also do is take this down the road, 4 months, 6 months down the road, and share an update. This is what else is happening in the community thanks to your donations. And what that does is that really helps people feel thanked. That's that thank portion that we were talking about. Helps people feel really connected to that work and feel like their contributions are directly impacting, because they are. They're really connected to that. They're feeling part of that journey, so that, again, come next fall, you're not having to start over. They know why they're giving because they've seen the impact year round. Another resource that you might be familiar with because of campaign is our Salesforce Philanthropy Cloud platform. It's a wonderful platform that can act as a centralized hub for all of your philanthropic efforts. Again, not just United Way. I cannot emphasize that enough. Philanthropy Cloud is not just for United Way campaign. It is for year-round philanthropic engagement for any of your causes, activities, volunteer projects that you do throughout the year. It was created in partnership with United Way Worldwide, between United Way Worldwide and Salesforce.org. But again, it's not a United Way specific platform. It includes a searchable database of nonprofits. It's the GuideStar database of nonprofits. I can search. I've searched Boy Scout troops. I've searched small nonprofit orchestras. I've searched so many different nonprofits, and they're all in there. You can really champion all kinds of causes and events. And the nice thing about it too is that it shows all of your donor history in one place. So for me as an individual, on my personal, as a personal user on Philanthropy Cloud, I can add my personal volunteering skills, the causes that I care about, to my profile. And what that does is that filters into, it creates a recommended for you section on my personal homepage that's tailored to my interests and skills. So not everything on my personal page is created by United Way or as an event connected to United Way. Nonprofits from all over put their own giving and volunteering opportunities up on Philanthropy Cloud, and your employees would see things that are connected to their own interests. And it's also location specific. So if you have multiple locations, it'll show things that are tailored to their locations as well. it really supports the individual philanthropic journeys that your employees are on, while also helping to tell the story of your organization's combined philanthropy and volunteerism. And the nice thing too is that, once come tax season, when you're doing all your charitable, trying to pull together all your charitable donations for tax purposes, it's all in one place. You can go through and just hit print and it's all right there. So I tend to give to, the Bloomington Symphony, to other organizations and charities that I care about through Philanthropy Cloud, because it's really easy. It's easier than writing out a check or sending it directly to that nonprofit. And it's nice because United Way processes all of those donations, so I know that it's getting there very quickly. And if I have any questions about where that money is at or how that money is being processed, I know exactly who to call. It's one person. I don't have to try to track it down through multiple organizations. I can call one person. So if you're interested in Philanthropy Cloud, just know that we're happy to talk about that with you. We can support you on Philanthropy Cloud through stories that are pre-written, through volunteer experiences that are already built out that you can just pull over. Things like Action Day. This is an at-home volunteering experience. And then also, we can support you through full administrative training and support, content planning and management, support with reporting, analyzing donor data, and transparency and ease with donation processing. So again, Philanthropy Cloud is a great year-round tool that, again, is not United Way specific. So just a little bit more information about that. And I think that's about everything that that you can take from your campaign and stretch to year-round. And so at this point, I'd like to really invite my colleagues, Lataya and Alan, to join us. And I've asked them to join me today to talk a little bit more about their roles. I don't know why that popped out. One second. If you guys want to introduce yourselves while I pull the share back up here.
No problem. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Lataya Allseits, and I work on the corporate relations team here at Greater Twin Cities United Way. And I'm also a board member for the International Live Events Association, where I help them plan virtual and in-person events, much like today.
And good afternoon, everyone. Or morning. We're not at afternoon yet. My name is Alan Bridge, and I also work on the corporate relations team with Lataya. We actually started together back in September during the pandemic, so we've been kind of getting to learn to with one another, through this process. But I actually sit on the board with the Alzheimer's Association's Young Champions group as well, and I also co-chair the University of Louisville alumni chapter here in Minnesota. So I like to say involved within the community myself, but thank all of you for being here. I mean, it just shows the investment that you have, not just in Greater Twin Cities United Way, but just in the communities that we're hoping to serve. So again, happy to have you all here.
All right.
All right, so you already heard from Megan some of the resources we can share to support your communications. And we're here today to share some of the other engagement opportunities we have to offer you and your employees. So we can help connect you and your employees with life-saving community resources like United Way's 211 resource helpline and our newly launched suicide prevention lifeline. We also can connect you with impact speakers, United Way staff, and community experts to share firsthand knowledge and experiences about community issues.
We also offer different ways to volunteer and engage for your employees, specifically with like-minded individuals through our giving communities. I'll be sure to dive into that later, but again, one of my favorite parts of this job is the volunteer work. And it's something that we're able to orchestrate where we can provide meaningful and authentic ways for your employees to not only just do the support and do the work, but also feel the impact that they're making. And there's a reason Megan's plugging in an Action Day. So Action Day is literally one of my favorite days of the year. Actually, believe it or not, when I first entered the workforce, this was years ago, I'm telling you, like 2018, my workplace ended up doing Action Day. It was my first volunteer experience and blew me away kind of with the impact that you're able to feel when you're at the event, but also looking at what you're able to accomplish with other people that are there with you. So I think United Way really does a great way to honestly put this at a grander scale that we're hoping that we can have you all along this year or years after. And moving right along, I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about our 211 helpline. So this is one of the most vital resources that we can actually offer your employees that's available to them 24/7, 365 days a year. And people love to call Minnesota the state of 10,000 lakes. However, I like to call it the state of 10,000 nonprofits. And the reason why I call that, because it's really a blessing and a curse. Because at the end of the day, if you're a single parent, and you may have just moved out of an abusive situation at your home, who are you going to call? If you're in need of food assistance and you're not sure where the nearest shelter is, or even when it opens, who do you reach out to? So these are really highly stressed situations where people really find themselves in. And when you're unable to navigate that, it can be not only just troublesome, it can be cumbersome, and it can be stressful for some of these individuals experiencing it. And that's where 211 really steps in to help alleviate some of that discomfort for these callers who are reaching out. So therefore, 211 really is an international helpline that connects our callers to these local resources that can help meet their needs or circumstances. So to put it simply, if I had to define 211 with one word, it would be access. At the end of the day, we're providing access to services that can, again, be stressful, cumbersome for them to receive, that we can then connect the dots and help alleviate some of that burden. So the best thing that we can provide for you right now, believe it or not, we have a reenactment of a live call that our 211 team was able to share with us that really shows how impactful and how much the immediate need is for those people who are calling.
Let's see if I can make the functions worse.
Thank you for calling United Way 211. How may I help you?
Hi, I'm calling from Brooklyn Park and I'm looking for a food pantry in my area. I've run out of food and I have a child that I need to feed. I've never been in this situation before. I don't know what to do.
I'm sorry to hear that you're going through this. In my database, I see that there are 3 food pantries in your area. I can provide you with this information, their phone numbers and address. Would you like me to text the information, send it over email, or read it to you over the phone?
Email would be great.
Okay, you'll receive an email with that information shortly.
Thank you so much. I seriously appreciate your help.
Oh, you're welcome. Have you considered applying for the food support program or SNAP?
No, I'm not. Can you send me information about that as well?
Yes, I'll go ahead and include that information.
Thank you so much for all your help today.
You're very welcome. If you do need any other food pantries or any other resources, please don't hesitate to give us a call back. We're here 24/7.
211. Again, it's so important for you to share this number with your employees. I had a coworker, believe it or not, share with me how she had to slide up at one of her campaign kickoff meetings. And at the end of it, they had a gentleman come down. Pretty much everyone's gone at that point. He goes, listen, my employer doesn't know this. I've been living in my car for the last 2 months. And I haven't been able to catch up on my house payments. Right there on the spot, they were able to call 211. Be able to help this man get the resources he needs just to meet the next month's rent. And that's kind of the point of just 211, because we don't know who that person sitting next to us in the cubicle is going through. So it's always important to be able to have these resources to your disposal and knowing that your employees also know they have access to them as well.
All right. Thanks for sharing that.
I think it's safe to say we all experienced mental health challenges in 2020. And when the calendar turned to 2021, those challenges didn't disappear. We all knew before COVID-19, but certainly afterwards, that supporting your employees in mental health is vital for their overall health, their happiness, and performance in and outside of your workplace. So Greater Twin Cities United Way has actually been in the process of building a mental health focus area for the last 2 years. And on January 4th, 2021, we launched a suicide prevention lifeline. Now, the huge significance of this is, for the last several years, Minnesota hasn't had a local suicide prevention number to call, and now we do. Here's how it works. Our Suicide Prevention Lifeline was created in partnership with the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Right now, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at Greater Twin Cities United Way services 35 out of 87 counties in Minnesota. In other words, we service 70% of the state's population. Anyone who resides in those 35 counties that calls the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is routed to our local team at Greater Twin Cities United Way, making it much easier to connect the caller with local mental health resources. We have 24/7 call center staff who are trained to do a risk assessment on each call, but we're finding the majority of callers simply want to talk to another human being who cares. Our call center staff are receiving an average of 80 calls a day, and in our first 6 months, we have received 10,800 calls. In addition, we're finding 95% of people are calling for themselves, which is encouraging to see. People are self-identifying their need for this service, which makes it more important they know it exists. Next slide. Now, many of you likely use speakers during your campaign kickoffs, but we want you to know this is something we offer year-round. We can provide single speakers or panels where members from our team and external experts talk about a community-based topic of your choice. Now, there are many topics we can speak on, but today I want to highlight the area of equity. As you're probably aware, in the last year, there has been added emphasis on implementing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives into the workplace. So here's an example of how we've helped companies in this area. In April of this year, one of the law firms I work with asked if we could provide speakers to talk about George Floyd. The law firm felt this was a relevant topic to discuss. However, they felt the topic of George Floyd and the civil unrest that followed could quickly become a politicized conversation. They wanted us to help navigate how to talk about this issue without polarizing their team. So we put together a panel that was able to shed light on what really mattered about this topic. Community. What state was our community in before the murder of George Floyd? How was our community affected by this event? How did we support our community through this event? And how can we continue to support our community in the aftermath? Using our staff and the external experts we work with to present on topics centered around equity is a free resource and engagement opportunity for your team to rely on. Next slide.
Excuse me, teams etiquette. I'm going to carry on with the topic of communities by talking about our giving communities. I teased this earlier, but our giving communities provide networking and leadership opportunities for professionals that have aligning philanthropic interests. So this opens the door for the opportunity for them to direct their investments while also tracking their impact that their giving community makes in the area of a focus. So right now at United Way, we have 4 active giving communities. And our first one is our Rise Project. So our Rise Project focuses on improving the lives of LGBTQ youth who are experiencing homelessness. And next we have Women United. So these are individuals who are supporting the school success for children and financial stability for women as well. Our emerging leaders, those are individuals who are driven towards the greater access to education, jobs, as well as human services. And last but not least, we have our Tocqueville Society. These members are here to maximize and multiply their collective impact to solve some of our community's most significant challenges. So one thing to keep in mind, there is a membership fee associated with each group. However, all the dollars are reinvested back in the community. And we encourage companies to cover these membership fees, similar to the way they might cover an association fee. That way it shows your employees, they not only encourage their opportunity to be more engaged, but you also support it as well. So these are incredible opportunities if you have individuals or REG groups, people that are passionate and have really a thirst to get engaged in whatever area these fall in, but also seeking for some of that professional development as well. I think these could be great resources that you can give back to your employees that are looking to pursue further.
Yeah. And I love the giving communities too, because a lot of you likely have employee resource groups in your organizations. And in talking with our manager of our giving communities, she wanted to emphasize too that even if you're not a member, even if your employees are not members of the giving communities, they are always happy to come out and talk with your ERGs, especially if there's an alignment with an ERG that you have in your company. They're always happy to partner with you and, and come out and bring speakers and partner on events, things like that. You don't have to be a member to still be part of that giving community, to really, be part of what that means and access some of those resources. Being an actual member of the giving community really is just helping to actually direct the investments. That is the biggest benefit of being a member of, say, a RISE project. If you are, a paying member of the RISE project, how that really benefits you is to be able to actually create the grants and direct the grant funds to the organizations and figure out how to best use those resources that you help raise. So it is not necessarily, again, a cost-based thing to really be able to partner with our giving communities. We just want to share that information and share those like-minded individuals with yours and really create that alignment. So alongside that, so we can also help with our volunteerism program. I know that Volunteer United is a big one that many of you are familiar with. And as we saw in the poll at the beginning of the session, volunteerism is probably the thing that you utilize the most year-round of all of the connection points that we have. And our Volunteer United team of experts really can design, plan, and fully support volunteer experiences for any size of team. And I say that with one caveat that, right now, sizes of teams and group sizes of volunteers is a little bit smaller, just out of necessity, but that is getting back to normal. We are growing those group sizes back slowly. But we want to make sure that those volunteer experiences have meaningful impact through our local community. And we do that in 4 key ways. Our 4 key projects through Volunteer United are the Pack for Impact kits, those projects which you're probably most familiar with, like healthy snack packs, hygiene kits, laundry detergent kits, things like that. The one that we are plugging right now is the school supply packs. So if you're interested in school supply packs, let us know. We'd love to have you do some of those. The custom volunteer projects, really being able to fully customize and project manage from start to finish, help with the setup, help with the planning, help with communications, help ordering supplies if necessary. All of these components, we want to be able to take all that and make it a very turnkey experience for you and your employees. Same with essential supply drives, really making sure that when we're planning essential supply drives, we're partnering with the nonprofits first. So we want to make sure that when we're planning these essential supply drives, we know exactly what that need is, that we're not doing a drive for something that is maybe not as essential as something else that could be collected. So partnering with specific nonprofits in your areas, preferably right in your local community. We try to partner you with nonprofits in your local community to make sure that, whatever you guys are collecting in your drive really does go to support the critical needs in your backyard. And that really helps to create that empathy, create that connection point for your employees for what their neighbors might be experiencing. And then, of course, our community volunteer events like Action Day and Home for Good. And I, again, shamelessly plug Action Day because, as Alan said, it is our favorite time of the year. Before I was on this team, I was on our Volunteer United team. an action day. I think when a couple of years ago, Alan, when I first met you at that specific iteration of action day, I think I walked 120,000 steps is what my Fitbit said in 2 days working on that action day. And it was just an amazing experience. Packing backpacks, talking with volunteers, pulling together thousands of volunteers. You know, what that looks like this year, of course, is a little bit different. You know, last year we had to scale that back and go completely virtual. This year, we're bringing back that in-person component. It looks a little bit different. So if you've ever volunteered at Action Day in the past, that does look a little bit different this year with how they're doing that. So let us know if you're interested in volunteering in person. We can talk about that. Volunteer at home, do those school supply packs. So those are all of the ways that we can connect you. Now, I know that was a lot of information that we shared with you. So I'm going to ask Alan and Lataya a very leading question that's going to be very obvious, but you know, in what ways can we support you in your employees? So I know that you guys can help plan things. How do you support organizations in that planning process when they're talking about all these different ideas and opportunities? Nope, you're on. There you go.
Thank you. To make things really easy for everyone, we actually created an engagement calendar that highlights all of our annual volunteer events, our educational sessions, which we call Community Connection Series, holidays that we recognize for some of the communities we serve, and more.
Still on mute.
Alan, you're on mute too.
Goodness. I promise. After a year, you think you get good at this. Each square, though, as you can see on the slide, actually comes with a calendar link. So it provides more information on our GTCUW event pages, as well as after today, Lataya and I will be sure to send over just a copy of this so you can have for the remainder of this year. However, moving forward, we're hoping at the beginning, January, at the beginning of New Year's, we can have this provided for you all. That way you can kind of have a forefront of kind of what to expect and what to get involved with that makes the most sense for you all. So this is something that we wanted to share with you all now, while also looking ahead of time for 2022.
Yeah. And the thing I love most about this too is that it also includes a lot of our advocacy work. And that's something that we didn't really touch on as much today. But on the engagement calendar, it does have opportunities for you and your employees to get involved with our advocacy work, either through listening sessions, through actually going to the Capitol on these big days about, Homeless Day on the Hill, the Early Childhood, the Advocacy for Children Day. All of these different opportunities to engage and really see our advocacy work in action are really, really meaningful. I know that Jane just put the link for our next Community Connection series in the chat. So that is coming up on July 28th. And I'm really excited about that one. It is all about our Criminal Justice Reform Coalition, which is something that has been in the works for the past year and a half. Really excited to hear more about that. So if you are interested in attending that yourselves, if you're interested in sharing that with your employees, feel free. Space is limited, so I'd encourage you to sign up soon. Also, it is in 13 days, so sooner rather than later. If there's anything else, like you said, you'll send this calendar out to everyone along with all the other resources. We'll send out the links. We'll send out the resources. The slide deck once is tweaked with a little bit more externally facing information. A lot of our talking points, and then the recording of this will also be made available to all of you. Are there any questions at this point? I think we hit it right at the hour mark here. So are there any questions from you guys? I know this was a lot of information. We talked kind of fast, so try to cram it all in. Don't be shy. If you have a question, chances are someone else does too. If you are shy and you don't want to say it out loud, feel free to put it in the chat. You can also email us questions afterwards if you think of them later. All of our contact information when we send out the resources next week, all of our contact information will be there as well. And as always, with all of these sessions, if there is specific feedback that you have for this particular session, I encourage you to fill out this short survey. It just has a couple of questions about how the information was helpful, any additional feedback you might have for the session and or our speakers. You can remain anonymous if you so choose. And then if there's anything that you heard today that you'd like more information about or support with, that is a big one. If you do want more information about something, or if you do have questions, feel free to fill that out and our team will follow up with you directly. So with that, I will let you guys go. Thank you for the extra 2 minutes. If you are interested in joining us for an open discussion, I know Jane will put the Teams link in the chat there, and we'll go ahead and hop over to that meeting link here. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We look forward to connecting with you throughout the campaign and throughout the rest of the year.
Thank you, everyone.